Watch how easy and cost effective this process is, saving you thousands of dollars. Hey everyone, Kyle with Ligari Products, and on today's video, we're gonna be coating a countertop using our Ligari Stone Kit process, using Ligari pigments and spray paint. If you would like to see more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe. Now let's get into it. All right guys, we're gonna get this 3-gallon kit mixed up. We're gonna be using our jet black epoxy pigment, our burnt caramel, and our camel epoxy pigments, as well as some Rust-Oleum white spray paint. So the first step, guys, we're gonna get part A's dumped in, add the part B, do our 3P2 process to mix, and get it over to Tyler so he can get it down on the countertop.
All right, so next step is to pour these out as fast as we can. We do not want all this product sitting in a mass like this. It is gonna heat up faster. If it sits in here too long, it's gonna become useless. You won't be able to use a product. It'll become hard. It'll get really hot. So again, make sure everything's ready to go before you start mixing. And once they're mixed and batched up like this, you wanna start dumping them out. Biggest thing is if you wanna get the same color on all your counters, you don't wanna just dump one of these buckets out in one spot. I don't really care on this one. I think it's gonna look cool if we have some dark colors here, maybe not much dark colors over there, so it doesn't really matter on this one. But again, it depends on what you guys wanna do. The other thing you can do is trace out a pattern that you wanna follow before you start mixing. That way when you're mixed, you can come over and just start dumping along the pattern that you have on your counter. We've done that a lot as well. So I'm just gonna start, we're just gonna, like I said, just real random, kind of all over the place. Just no rhyme or reason for anything. So notice I'm just dumping the buckets over so they can all drain out. You can kind of start picking those up periodically. I do like to leave a little resin in these in case I want to do some tight fracture veins after. And whenever I pick them up, I'm trying not to drip all over where I'm walking, so I'll set these out of the way of where I'm walking. All right guys, so we got 2 buckets left. We want to start filling in these bigger gaps, right? I mean, this will wind up spreading out a lot more because these are thick puddles, but you don't want to be pouring too much on one section and then you don't have enough on another section. A few things that's going to create an issue for you if you do that is most of your resin will be on one area. You won't have as much there where it's not going to want to level out and fill in by itself. The other thing is when you pull your tape, you're not going to have as much resin on those spots where you didn't pour enough product there to flow over your faces and cover your faces really well. So again, it's always good to jump around like I did. And then now we're just kind of filling in. We're being more methodical with our pours, right? We want to make sure we're filling in right in the middle of these gaps. I don't want to pour a bead right on the edge. I want to start to fill in some of these middles. So once I've got all the resin dumped out, sometimes you'll have spots that are just missing the resin. We want to help those level out and fill in. You can use your hand with a glove on, obviously. I'm just going to use a little edge of a squeegee, and I'm going to just kind of just pat those in. Again, I want to go with whatever pattern is out there. I wouldn't want to try to fill in like this guy and go sideways, okay? So we want to go with the flow of the pattern. And we want to go around and make sure everything's filled into the tape edges, corners, any spots out in the counter that are missing resin, and then that'll help it level out. It'll just fill in once it kind of gets some resin in that dry area. So I'm going to spray this with isopropyl. If you guys don't want more of those cells and dispersing effects, you would just mist a surface with denatured. The iso is really going to add a lot of dispersing effects, especially using these types of pigments. So again, if you really love this look, just mist it with denatured alcohol. So the next step is to let that isopropyl evaporate for about 5-10 minutes, and then we're going to mist the surface with denatured alcohol. We might do it twice depending on how glass the surface looks. If you are going to do it twice, let that evaporate again. We don't want to just flood the surface with denatured alcohol. So again, just a fine mist everywhere. And if you guys are in a house, you're gonna wanna wear a respirator if you don't have a lot of airflow. This does have a smell to it, the denatured alcohol. Okay, so we'll give that about 5 minutes, check it. If it's good, last thing we gotta do is just wait on these edges. So the right time to pull the tape is when you fold this back and the resin starts moving down very slowly. It is really cold in here right now, so the resin's really thick. So it's really not going to move fast, but typically when you're inside 70-degree temps, the resin is going to be really fluid right now. So you'll fold that tape over, it'll just start to drip right off. So you want to wait until it just starts to slowly move down that tape. Another thing is if you're doing big edges like this, you're better off pulling it sooner than later because you have so much of an edge to cover. You want to make sure you have that resin has enough time to flow down before it gets too thick. If you have thinner edges, you can typically wait a little bit longer. But when we go to pull it, I'll kind of show you the look that we're looking for. Like I was telling you guys before, when you pull the tape down, you want it to just slowly be moving. I don't know if you guys are picking that up, but it's moving slow. It's not just running down the tape super fast. So we're gonna pull it right now. The biggest thing, guys, is when you're doing the tape for the dam, you want to make sure before you prime your edges, you want to make sure they're very clean. Wipe them with denatured alcohol, make sure they're super clean, and you won't pull any primer off when you're pulling tape. If it's not clean, if you have dust in there, you'll wind up peeling some primer off. So I like to get all the tape pulled. You can kind of see over here it's starting to run down, let it drip for a little bit, and then we'll rub in all the edges with epoxy. Next step, after we pull the tape and it's starting to drip, we want to get rid of all the surface tension by rubbing resin on all these dry spots, that's gonna help it flow over evenly and not all these runs that it's doing. Now don't worry about screwing up the design because a lot of this is still gonna flow over. If you have spots that are coated more towards the bottom, just rub in the spots that are dry where you can see the primer. So you can see here where I rubbed it in, it's already halfway down the face. Once it gets slicked off, it just lets it run down that edge a lot better. And again, if I'm rubbing this in, I'm not messing this up. There's no point in screwing that up. It's all coated nice and even. I'm just hitting the spots that need it. So the last thing we want to do is scrape our drips. It's a lot easier to stick around, scrape your drips, and have to sand those the next day. It's not hard to sand them, but less dust you create before your top coats obviously is better. A few things I will point out is if you have any imperfections in your face, now these are some pretty thick edges. If you have like a spot that just doesn't look like right, maybe it looks like a drip or a run, simple little chip brush, paint brush, kind of rub that in just to eliminate that run look. Any spots that are missing, you can touch up, obviously while the resin's still fluid. So it's always good to stick around, make sure your edges are looking good, all your corners are coated. If you ever need to add product to your corners, just get some on your hand or a paint stick and just let it drip off and run down that edge. That'll help coat your outside corners. But other than that, yeah, we just wait now, let this continuously flow down. It's already halfway here. Yeah, so see, it's even farther. Probably another 20 minutes, the majority of these faces will be coated, and it's gonna look like we cut this out of a real slab of stone.